everyone, welcome back to another amazing interview for you. I am joined here with Thornton, my co-host from London. Hey, Thornton.
Hi there. I'm actually in sunny Devon.
That's right,
I say sunny. Of course, it's some ungodly hour, 2 in the morning here in England. But that's what happens when you do the moon shift.
Yeah.
On a live worldwide event.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know, Thornton heads up an amazing Facebook group called Energy Medicine Exchange, which has over 50,000 members, all sharing beautiful, life-changing modalities which are helping people heal in a new and alternative way. So do check out the Facebook group and energymedicineexchange.com. So thanks for joining us. And Thornton, we are here to welcome the amazing Daniel Brower all the way from Argentina. Hi, Daniel.
Hola, hola. How's everybody?
We are doing good. Despite technical difficulties, we are here. We're rocking it. So thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to share, indeed.
Great. Well, for those of you who don't know Daniel is a beautiful ceremonialist, and he's sharing crystal bowls all throughout different ceremonies across the planet. And his website is circleofsound.org. And we're very happy to welcome you today, Daniel. So thank you for joining us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here and participate in this amazing Sound Summit. You've got some amazing people. For me, it's a real honor to be included and to be able to share a little bit of what I do. Sure.
Well, it felt really important, thank you for coming. It felt so important to have you as part of it, because a lot of the speakers are going into the science, and I thought it would be so nice for people to have an experience, and for also, to have perhaps that inspiration to use sound for ceremony themselves. We can use it for personal healing, like a tuning fork on our body, or we can have a sound journey. But, more widely, using crystalline instruments is so important at this time. I know for me, many structures in our body are already crystalline. Our toroidal field of the blood cells, we've got the crystalline structures in our bone, we've got the golden mean in our DNA. And having crystal instruments, I really believe, is important at this time as we shift and activate more crystalline structures in our body. So I feel it's very important. I feel that's why crystal bowls are flying out the door,
Well, I agree. I think the whole story of the crystal bowls is a very interesting one, including I have a tendency to turn into Spanish and start speaking Spanish. Let me know if I bring it back to English. Including when the bowls arrived, because the bowls really arrived for the first time back in, well, let's say maybe the early 70s, something like that.
Yeah.
And you probably know the origin, that they came out of Silicon Valley there in California. They're a result of the computer industry. When the computer industry was just getting started in the late 60s and early 70s, they realized that we're entering the age of computers, and within a couple of decades, everybody's going to have a computer or two in their home. And now we have the computers, and now we have the cell phones, and we have these other things. Wherever there's any kind of a little computer, there's a little bitty microchip.
Mm-hmm.
Those microchips are made out of the very same thing as the crystal bowls.
Right.
They're made out of silica. And so they didn't really know where they could get so much silica, and so they started creating the bowls so that they could grow silica inside the crystal bowls. I don't know, you familiar with that story?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. And I love the fact that, technology does so many things for us, but equally it also can be challenging, and it can be unhealthy for the body. So I love that out of that whole industry, something healing has come that we're now using for other purposes, which is beautiful.
Indeed. And this happened just about the time when our beautiful planet Earth is making its transition, its journey through the universe, across the universe, and leaving the influence of the Pisces constellation and entering the influence of the Aquarius constellation, and just about that same time, voila, here comes the crystal bowls. And
Yeah.
I really feel like they're here to help us make this transition into this new age, this age of ascension, this age of enlightenment, this age of changing our actually physical bodies from a carbon-based into a more silica-based, crystal-based body. And I feel like these tools, these bowls, are really helping us to do that. And they have really just exploded. They're all over the planet now.
Yes.
They're sounding and playing everywhere. And people are learning to play them consciously and learning to use intention with them.
Yes.
And when we have a combination of intention and sound, we have the formula for creation in our very hands. And when we use that consciously and intelligently, then we can participate in making the changes that we've been waiting for a while. Indeed, they're amazing instruments.
They are so beautiful, aren't they? Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, inspiring people to use intention is so important, because for those of you watching who don't understand about sound, perhaps when we play an instrument, at the point wherever our mind is focused, wherever our intention is, that will get merged with the instrument that you're playing, and it will get amplified. So the more we get really present and focused, and we think, oh, what is the prayer that I want to add into this sound? You know, is it perhaps expanding, or is it perhaps rebalancing, or is it perhaps grounding, you know, which is so important with all the the radiation from devices and technology that we use. So it's really important, isn't it, to have that intention?
Well, indeed, especially when you consider a little bit more about this amazing element, silica. That is, if we go back to chemistry classes back in high school or college or something, when we studied that periodic table that has all of the elements in it.
Yeah.
Well, of all of those elements of Pachamama, of planet Earth, the most prevalent element on this planet is oxygen, which is a good thing, so that we can breathe, and we've got it. The second most prevalent element is silica.
Huh.
It's the second most prevalent on this whole planet.
That's
and we
amazing.
don't it is, and we don't really find it often by itself.
Okay.
I mean, in the computer chips, the microchips, that's almost 100% silica. But normally, it's found mixed with other elements to form all of the minerals.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that silica is kind of the basis of all of the minerals of planet Earth. All of the rocks and the stones and the gems and the crystals and the quartz, the sand, the glass, all of these minerals have as a base silica.
Yes.
Even the surface of the planet out there, the ground, is 25-27% silica. And so it's like a crystalline, if you will, a silica grid that surrounds the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now if we kind of consider that all of these rocks and stones and crystals and quartz are the bones of planet Earth, like Mother Earth's bones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, let's just say that. All right, we see some of them. A lot of them we don't see because they're hidden deep within Mother Earth, within her planet. Okay, now we as human beings physically are exactly the same as planet Earth. We've got like 70% water, like she's 70% water, and our water, or our blood, is just almost identical to her water, her salt water. And our bones are made up of the very same things as Mother Earth's bones. We have inside our bones all of these minerals. We have quartz, we have crystals, we have all of the minerals of Mother Earth in our bones, which means we have silica in our bones, which after many years of playing the bowls and wondering what is going on when I'm playing these bowls, and people are telling me, man, I've never felt anything like that before in my life. What happened? I didn't really realize for many years what's going on until finally I learned this, that it's the silica in our bones that is resonating with the sound and the vibration that's coming out of these silica bowls. And that explains what is going on, part of what's going on. Now, the other really important thing, coming back to the topic of intention, is that this element silica is not only the second most prevalent element on the planet, it is the most programmable element on the planet. And that's why it's used for the silica chips, the microchips for the computers, because it's the most programmable. Okay, well, let's see. We've got silica in our bones that is programmable and reprogrammable. So we are reprogrammable, and actually, truth be known, we're reprogramming ourselves all of the time, be it consciously or unconsciously, but we're constantly programming or affirming programs that we already have in our silica, in our bones, in our, the old tapes, that kick in sometimes when we don't even want to, but that's because it's programmed into our silica. Right. But we can change this with our intentions, with our affirmations. So when we repeat something all the time, like I'm a beautiful child of God. I'm a beautiful child of God.
Yeah.
I'm a beautiful child of God. And if we repeat this enough times, then pretty soon we're going to be walking around like a beautiful child of God.
Yes.
And if we're saying these things, we're expressing these intentions, when we're playing the crystal bowls that are going to amplify whatever our intention, whatever our affirmation is, it's like, it's a done deal. It's going to reprogram our silica. It's going to reprogram us. And so we have the power of co-creation and manifestation in our hands, or in our bowls, so to speak. And it's a very important tool that we're dealing with. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I love the term they call crystals record keepers. So they're like living libraries of consciousness, and if we look at Atlantis, obviously we know that Atlantis, that went a bit wrong, but crystals can retain memory. So they're very powerful. And, this links to Judy Cole's work, Bringing the Rivers, where encoding crystals and putting them in bodies of water to actually heal the oceans, heal the seas, heal the rivers and streams.
Yes.
So they're very powerful. And it's a beautiful thing to focus intention in that way.
Indeed, we worked with some crystals when we kicked off Circle of Sound and the global harmonization ceremony that we do every equinox and every solstice. When we began this back in September of 2005, I was in Mexico, close to Tepoztlan, which is one of the more energetic places of Mexico, and I was there for the very first ceremony, and we had 7 bowls. We just had one set of bowls that I brought down to Mexico with me for this ceremony. And a friend down there had, for some reason, been collecting a bunch of crystals, like finger-sized crystals or something like that. And he had taken them all up to a waterfall, a beautiful waterfall, real close to where we ended up doing the ceremony. And he had them up there being purified by this crystalline water in this waterfall. And he didn't know exactly why he was doing this. He was like following a dream that he had. He's a dream follower. And when I met him and he was telling me about this, I told him, well, I can tell you why you were doing this, because we're going to put those crystals in our crystal bowls while we do this harmonization ceremony. And so the crystals are going to be programmed with the intentions of our ceremony. And then after that, I did about a 6-month trip around Mexico and putting these crystals in the ground and throwing them into the ocean, throwing it into lakes and rivers all around Mexico to set up kind of a crystalline grid in Mexico with crystals that are vibrating with the intentions of our ceremony. was really fun. It was really
Oh,
cool.
that's so beautiful. Yeah, it really
And not
makes.
only that, but hopefully, very, very helpful, and hopefully that crystalline grid somehow or other, in some small manner or other, is helping to raise the vibration a bit of the consciousness.
I definitely feel so, and I feel the earth needs as much support as it can get, from all of us, so that we get more
Yes,
conscious about the damage we've created here, so that we can do everything that we can vibrationally and physically to shift things back into a more healthy state.
indeed. And I think that depends a lot on just the people awakening, and more people awakening all of the time. And I think by doing our work with the bowls, and the work of all these other wonderful speakers on the Sound Summit, we're helping people to awaken and just become a little bit more conscious and a little bit more present about, oh, what's going on here? What are we really doing? What is my role in all of this?
Yeah, that is so true, and it's so important. And Judy talks about, as much as we look at the bodies of water outside us, the pollution that is happening, we also have to address the waters within,
I
so
hope.
clearing out, detoxing, purifying our blood, so that we can be more energized, think better, and be more on purpose, and be able to fulfill whatever our gifts are here on this planet. So
Indeed.
yeah, and tell us more about the activating of crystalline consciousness. What do you feel like the crystal bowls are fulfilling here? Because there's such an interesting, like we've mentioned it a little bit, but just to go a bit deeper into that, why people are buying them. Why do you feel that they are feeling to vibrate themselves in that way?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because as a general rule, the crystal bowls are kind of expensive, really, in
Yes.
almost all parts of the world. They're 2 or 3 times more than the metal bowls, and they are pretty expensive. But people are buying them.
Mm,
I mean, down here in Argentina, they're expensive too, but people are saving their money because they want to buy a crystal bowl or two or three, or they want to have a set of 7
yeah.
crystal bowls. And people are somehow or other finding a way to buy them. I remember back in 2008, when there was one of these world economic crises that were going on, and I happened to be in the office of Cedric Wise there of one of the main crystal ball distributors in Houston, Texas. And I was asking him, well, Cedric, what's going on? Because we got this worldwide economic crisis thing. And I remember he said, Daniel, I don't understand anything, because my sales are just continuing to grow and increase. People are still buying the bowls.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because people are attracted to the bowls. Often when I'm doing a concert or a meditation or something, quite often half the people there have never seen a bowl, and I always ask them, well, what are you doing here? Why did you come?
Mm,
Well, I don't really know. I was just wanted to find out what's going on here. And
yeah.
they're blown away when they have the experience of what I consider is just alta vibración, high vibration. When we've got the bowls going, we're creating some high vibrations, and the harmonics that are going on when we're playing multiple bowls, 2, 3, 4, 7, 20 different bowls, depending on the experience. We have some high vibrations going on. Now, we live and we sleep and we eat and we walk inside this planetary consciousness. We're all influenced by the consciousness of the planet. I'll call it what I call the planetary consciousness. And it's a little bit on the dense side, we might say, especially depending on where we are. Like here in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, for example, a great big city. And it gets pretty dense in that big city. And even in the little town where I live, Capilla del Monte, which is one of the more energetic spots of all of South America, it's still, we've got some problems here with the planetary consciousness. Now, that influences us all. And to some degree, it kind of dampens our vibration. and that sometimes results in some stress and some tension, and then we got sicknesses and all kinds of physical and mental and emotional problems because our vibration is lowering. Now, when we get around the crystal bowls that are putting out this high vibration, they like kind of excite our molecules, we might say, and they certainly shake up our blood. I mean, I sometimes put water in a crystal bowl and play it and just ask people, look at what's happening to the water in the bowl and see how the water is just vibrating and dancing and jumping around, and say, that's what's happening to our blood while
Yeah,
we're
it's almost like a cymatics machine going on right inside the
it,
bowl.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And all of this great vibration and high vibration, I feel like kind of brings us back up to our normal level of vibration, which is a little higher vibration than we
Yeah.
sometimes get into in this dense planetary consciousness.
Mm,
And that's good for us
mm.
because that'll vibrate us up a little bit higher. And then when we calm down, I believe we're going to be in a little bit higher state of vibration and a higher state of consciousness. And that's good for everybody, and that's good for the whole.
Yes. Yes, they're very potent. And it was interesting. I was on chat with a rep from a crystal bowl company, and he just said they can't make instruments fast enough, you know. And
Indeed.
and that's interesting. It's like it's almost like it's food for us. I really believe it is food. Like it's helping us unify, that crystalline structure in our bodies. And it's interesting. Dr. Alberto Velodo, I don't know if you know him. He's a fascinating Dr. Alberto Velodo. He's been training with Mayan and Incan shamans, and he talks about moving from Homo sapiens to Homo luminous. So like you were talking about carbon based. Yeah. So it's like going from that carbon based life form, that density, to the crystalline, to the silica, and to,
Yes.
And if we look at the macabre, the light field around the body, that has a crystalline structure too. So it's activating, Homo luminous, it's activating the light, it's activating the light body. So I really feel that's probably why crystal instruments, the crystal tuning forks also, why people are wanting to vibrate, literally have them in their space, because it helps us unify it. Even if things are, vibrating over here hectically, you get that beautiful calming energy of the crystal bowl, and pretty soon you get this entrainment that happens, and people start to then calm down, rebalance, go more
Yes.
deeply into a place of harmony. So yeah.
Indeed, and I always notice that when I get through playing, I can actually see a physical change in the face of people
Yes.
after they receive the vibrations. I mean, they come in and there may be a little tense or something, but when they receive these vibrations, their face just lights up, or at least they relax.
Yes.
And they have a more relaxed glow to them. And if people can relax, that's good, because we all need more relax.
Don't we? And you've been doing crystal bowls for how long now? Didn't you say it was decades? Yeah.
25 years. I started in '94.
Wow, that's awesome. And you've been playing all over the world, like different ceremonies, different sacred sites, so many places. Yeah.
Yes, for a few years there, I was traveling full time. I was actually homeless for about 3 years, from about 2006 to 2009, because I was. It was voluntary, moving around to other kind of sacred sites, kind of like unto Capilla Monte and Tepoztlan and Bugarash in France and other places around the world, specific places. And the project that I was working on, this Circle of Sound project, was to deliver a set of bowls, or 7 bowls, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, to 7 particular spots around the world. And in this process, I had an opportunity to go to quite a few beautiful places and meet many, many wonderful, beautiful people. You've probably seen too, the crystal bowls just attract good people, people that are searchers and, are very, very receptive and open. And my work during those years was to promote this ceremony, what we call the global harmonization ceremony, which we do every equinox and every solstice since 2005. So it's been now almost 15 years since we started doing these every equinox and every solstice. And it's an interesting ceremony because we work with the concept of united consciousness of many people around the world. And we unite at 5 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time around the world, wherever that is. That could be 8 or 9 o'clock in Russia, or 6 in the evening in England, or something like that. It's 2 in the afternoon here in Argentina. It's noon in Mexico, different places. But at that moment in time, different circles of sound, including in England there, that when we met, I think it was around one of these ceremonies, something like that in Glastonbury.
I think it was Glastonbury, maybe Glastonbury tour actually, because I've done a ceremony up there with my crystal bowls. So yeah,
yes.
It's certainly going back a bit, isn't it?
Indeed. Well, I think that was the last time I saw you back then in 2006 or 2007, something like that. It's been a while for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely going back.
The idea is to unite in consciousness and make the most of the power of united consciousness, like I don't think we've ever done as a race of human beings. I think it's a potential source of power and it's in our hands that we haven't quite used yet appropriately. But our idea is to unite in consciousness by everybody concentrating on the same intentions.
Yes.
That is, we concentrate on harmony, acceptance, unity, joy, compassion, love, and appreciation for all beings of the planet. And these ceremonies, they're like 2 hours long, and we don't teach anything. We don't even say anything. We just say, okay, let's concentrate on these intentions for the next 2 hours, while Ana is doing it in France, while Rosanna is doing it in Mexico, while Ernesto is doing it in Peru, and Luis is doing it in Brazil, and Romy Spur is doing it in England, and people all over the planet are doing it at the same moment in time. And we just sit there and play the bowls for a couple hours and to see what happens. That's so good. It's so good. It's something. The deal is, it's just something. We're doing something to raise the vibration of the whole.
Always doing something. Well, I've been part of Earth Dance, which is a global piece.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which has been broadcasting a prayer where all the DJs play a focus prayer, and that was actually recorded in Glastonbury. It was actually recorded in the house where I was living at the time, on the tour, by the tour, and we recorded the sound of the white spring and the red spring. So the red spring representing the goddess, the white spring representing the god, and then we had that in the background in the track. And so yeah, it was really beautiful. And I was the original voice for the prayer, speaking out, all dance floors across the world, brothers and sisters united, let us connect heart to heart.
Yes.
And let us send out our love, do it now, and just ripple it out. And it was that one moment where all the dance floors at a height, I think we had 65 locations in about 20 different countries. And it was truly, you could really feel this activation in your heart. It felt like, I call it like the deep inner hug, where you felt connected to everyone across the planet. And we had, I think we had the Global Initiative, I forget the exact name of what they're called, but they monitored the frequency of consciousness on the planet a couple of years running, checking to see what happened. And it definitely created a shift. So it was a beautiful thing to feel that we had been part of something. And we were raising money for Tibet in the beginning. We had an audience with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and he was so grateful, for
Oh,
money was pouring in from all the parties and raising money
oh.
for different charities. So
It's a wonderful thing. Just any for me, any time, any place where we're uniting in consciousness,
mm,
uh, uh, going to create a change.
yes,
I think we saw something really beautiful a couple of weeks ago when there was the week that was dedicated to the climate crisis that we're in,
yeah,
and there were ceremonies and manifestations all over the planet, and for me, that was an example of people uniting in consciousness to bring forth a change that we need, regarding the climate and what's going on with the weather. It was a good example of people uniting in consciousness and beginning to tap into that power that we have with
yes,
our mind, our consciousness, and our hearts and our instruments, and we can change things. I'm very very optimistic about things being changed. I actually think we're really really close to that critical mass number.
yeah,
It's not getting much press or anything. Everything else is getting all the press, but I really believe we're getting closer and closer. And at any moment, we can reach that, and the shift will continue even greater. We
yeah.
are changing. We are
Yeah, I
shifting.
absolutely agree with you. And once you're awake, there's no going back to sleep. So that's a good thing.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a real good thing. Yes, indeed.
that's
Indeed.
a great
Indeed.
thing. Yeah. So would you like to share a little bit more about, you were sharing yesterday about your beautiful set of bowls working with specific frequencies, which was so interesting for me because it speaks into sacred codes that we have present in many temples across the world. And you were talking about that beautiful harmony that gets created from those bowls.
Indeed. Indeed. I bueno, I've been playing the bowl since '94, and up until 2012, I think it was, we just played the bowls, just rock and roll, playing usually outside and doing ceremonies, and all of my work was ceremonial back in those years until I learned that we can put water in the bowl and change the frequency. We can actually tune the crystal bowls to specific frequencies. And that really just changed my whole world. When I learned that, it was a great door opening, eye opening, heart opening experience for me. And I then moved into the world of 432. And I had a friend that showed me, okay, this is the way Pythagoras uh, calculated the most harmonious tuning system for a musical scale, be it 440 or 432 or whatever. Pythagoras had a specific way of calculating frequencies. And so I started playing the bowls tuned to 432 for a few years. Well, I still do. I still use 432. And have learned a couple of other tuning systems since then. Actually, from my Russian friends. I took the very first crystal bowls into Russia in 2005 because one of the sacred sites that I was working with is in Russia. And so through the divine order and synchronicity of things, a mutual friend introduced me to a meditation group in Moscow, and they became the caretakers of the Russian Circle of Sound bowls. And they just went crazy with the bowls. The Russians are just fantastic. I love the Russians, or at least the Russians that I know are just really wonderful people. And they were playing the bowls so much that I tell you, after I think a couple of years, they wrote me and said, "We need some more wands. We need some more mallets because we've worn them out."
Oh,
They wore the leather off of the mallets, and they said, "We need more mallets." So, what do you mean you need more mallets? Yeah, we've used them all up. That's great. That's wonderful.
that's so
Hallelujah.
great. What a brilliant reason.
Indeed. Well, these people are very besides beautiful and generous and loving and really have taught me a lot, but they're very studious also. And they like really went to town with the crystal bowls, and they began to study, okay, what can we do with these things to deepen our meditation experience, because there's a meditating group. And they were experimenting with different ways to tune the bowls, and they came up with this other method that I have yet to find a name for it anywhere, but it's a method whereby the interval in between each two bowls is consistent. And we can do that by tuning the bowls, if we have enough bowls, if we have the right bowls. And the interval that I'm working with now is an interval of 54 hertz, and I can maintain that between each two bowls. And I start at 0, added 54, and I get 54. Add 54 more, I get 108, which is close to the frequency of your bowl there. And then another 54 is 162, and then another 54 is 216. And from there, I have crystal bowls that I can use. 216, 270, 324, etc. 54 more and 54 more. And what happens is when the intervals are the same between each two bowls, then we have the same kind of harmony that we have when we're playing a kalimba, the thumb piano.
Yeah, I love those.
Always wonderful. It's always groovy. It sounds good. Well, that's what happens with this, what I call the 54 tuning system. It doesn't matter which combination of bowls I'm playing or which order I play them in. It's just always good. And when we're playing in a musical scale, be it 432 or 440 or whatever, 444 or whatever, but when we're playing the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, there's some combinations that are great, wonderful, like the C, E, G, make the chord of C, and it's just wonderful, beautiful. But there are other combinations that not so good. But in this 54, it's just all harmony. It's just beautiful, beautiful. And that's
right. Yeah.
It really changes everything when that interval is the same. And I don't know of any other instrument that we can do this with other than the crystal bowls. Right. To be able to get at these particular frequencies. And it's impressive.
Yeah. I think what makes them unique is that they can sound for a long time, and even if you've been playing it for a while, you can then lift the mallet off and it continues to vibrate.
Yes.
You can work with tuning forks. With tuning forks, when you have a difference between two frequencies, they call it a difference tone or a summation tone, the two frequencies together. And some people call it a binaural. It's actually a dichotic tone, which is what an audiologist would term it. But most people understand binaural because that's what most people are talking about out there. But so 54, if people start looking at the temples like Angkor Wat and Machu Picchu and different places, they will find the embedding of these numbers in terms of different statues, like the jaguar heads in Machu Picchu. There's Angkor Wat, there's 54, there's 108 encoded in the temples. So there's a reason for that, and I love hearing about you using that, because 27 is the other difference tone between the solfeggio or the zobe frequencies. So the first frequency is 147, the next frequency to that is 174. The difference is 27, and then next one 174 and 258 and 285. The difference is 27. So
wow.
And the further you go up, you've got 54 in there. So when people start looking at the effect of 108, 10.8 hertz, 10.8 megahertz, and 1080 megahertz, these are amazing frequencies for detoxing the aura, harmonizing our field, harmonizing our physical body. So it's so exciting to hear you to know that you're vibrating that, because that's why people love it, because it is literally, like you said, that harmony. It's expressing that harmony and so beneficial for people.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
When I'm doing a little concert or meditation or magic carpet ride, whatever you want to call it, with people, I I kind of prep them a bit by saying, okay, we're getting ready to take off. We're gonna
Yeah.
do a magic carpet ride. We're gonna journey for a while. So relax. Turn off your cell phones. Lay down if there's room and get as relaxed and as receptive as possible, because we're gonna leave this planetary consciousness for a little while. We're
Mm,
going to have an opportunity to escape this planetary consciousness and make contact with the cosmic consciousness that always exists,
yeah.
always, and kind of reconnect with this cosmic consciousness, which is really our essence. And it
Yes.
happens. It happens. I see people just taking off and they're just like gone.
That's
And
so
and
beautiful. Yeah,
it's
27.
amazing.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say 27 hertz. If you start looking at brain waves, you will find that that is the beginning, depending on who you talk to, different, scientists say different things, but it's the beginning of a gamma brainwave state. And that's really for a heightened level of spiritual consciousness. So I think, absolutely what you're saying, people are lying down and they are going off, they're going into that, expanded state of unification. And that's what we all need to
Yes.
feel, that place of connection. We are always connected, but the mind doesn't think so. So
Right.
just,
Mine
just
distracts us a little bit. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Another curious thing that is, well, it's kind of curious. I don't know a whole lot about numerology and this kind of things, but I know different numbers have their 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 meaning or whatever. And if you add up the numbers of all of these frequencies in this 54, including 54,
yeah.
and then 108, and then 162, and then 216, if you add up those three numbers, you always come up to number 9.
9.
Number 9, number
Yes.
9, number 9. They're all number 9s.
Right.
And that's, I don't know what that means, but it's kind of curious.
Well, I love that, because if you look at, a lot of people quote Tesla and they say the power of 3, 6, and 9. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, that quote is actually from Edward Leedskalnin, who's the guy who built Coral Castle. And 9, if you look at it, it's like, yeah. Do you know about Coral Castle? You checked it out?
I've heard of those coral castles. Yes.
Right, it's in Florida, and I so want to visit. It's encoded with so much sacred geometry, so much sacred math. And if we look at 9, yeah, it's beautiful. I've been looking at it online, but I haven't physically been yet. But if we look at the number 9, and in gematria or gematria, when we're looking at numbers, the 0 doesn't count. So after 9, you go to 10, and you take the 0 out because it doesn't figure as a number. You're left. You go back to the 1. So from 9, I see 9, and I've researched it quite a bit. It's like this. It's the going into the spiral. If you look at the number, it's going into the spiral, and then it's returning to the 1. It's going back to the 1. So for me, I feel like it's the number of completion, which is why I feel these frequencies are so useful, because it is taking us to completion of this way of being, this fearful, disconnected, disharmonious, dissonant way of being, to a place of full connection, full joy, love, peace, and for harmony for all life. So I think what you're doing is amazing. Thank you so much for vibrating that continually across the planet as a beautiful prayer.
Well, that's true, and that's a wonderful thing, and that's kind of an energetic kind of woo-woo way of looking at things. But
Yep.
there's another way of looking at frequencies. You're probably familiar with the Rife frequencies.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, those are medicinal frequencies. And for me, that's without a doubt the medicine of the future, vibrational medicine,
Yes.
frequential medicine. And even back in the 20s and the 30s, when Rife and Hulda Clark and Abrams and all those other people were getting involved in frequency healing. They actually called it frequency healing. And Rife was one of the guys, one of the people back in those 20s and 30s that was developing this. Well, and we know that different people, fortunately, are continuing this work, continuing with this investigation, and coming up with more and more different apparati to expose the human body to these healing frequencies. You know, the zappers, and you can hold the rods and put the rings on. There's lights and things. Well, I started generating these frequencies with the crystal bowls once I learned that I can tune them to any frequency I want. Well, I mean, each bowl has a range of about 20 to 25 different hertz that we can fill up with water to have that kind of range. And then, okay, we use an F bowl, so to speak, for so many frequencies, and then we can shift to an E bowl, and then we got so many more frequencies, and then E flat bowl, and in that way, I guess it was about 2 years ago, I spent about 6 or 7 months, and I recorded every frequency.
Wow.
Between 160 to about 540 hertz. I recorded every frequency with the crystal bowls in order to be able to offer the Rife frequencies via the crystal bowls, via these vibrations of silica, to create this resonance with the silica that we have in our bones via the crystal bowls.
That is such a great idea.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I started when I learned that I can tune the bowls. Okay, all right, good. 432, but wow, that means I can hit the Rife frequencies. Right. I can go for the Rife frequencies with the crystal bowls.
Yeah.
So I did this, and I recorded them. I edited them, and I got 5 minutes for each frequency, editing, controlling the maximum volume to kind of a universal level, and a really nice recording of them all. And then I started putting together the frequencies recommended for the different illnesses and things, for different cancers, for fibromyalgia, for diabetes and asthma, and all kinds of things. They're all there. And I put up a website called goodfrequencies.com, www.goodfrequencies.com, and it's up now, and it's available. I think I have about 120 now different illnesses, conditions that are on the website, and anybody can go there. It's all free. You can go there to goodfrequencies.com and scroll down to whatever you may need, and just click it on. It takes you to a page in SoundCloud, and you begin to hear one crystal bowl for 5 minutes tuned to one of the frequencies recommended for, we'll say, fibromyalgia. And then after that begins another crystal bowl for 5 minutes tuned to another one of the frequencies recommended for fibromyalgia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you can put it on a very low volume and just have the sound of a crystal bowl in the background, or while you go to sleep, even better, and just have these frequencies going on. And then, due to this wonderful divine intelligence that we all have inside of us, that knows exactly what to do when it receives the frequency it needs to maybe heal, maybe, or at least eliminate these conditions, these illnesses, these disharmonies, and return to health. Return to health.
That is so amazing. You're amazing.
It's right there, and if anybody goes there, it's everybody's welcome. I've also got it in Spanish and Portuguese and in French. It's got it in 4 different languages for now. Possibility of adding German and even Russian and maybe even Chinese in the future. But people are going there. I get comments from people saying, "Wow, thanks, it actually works."
Yes.
Listening to a frequency can actually help, and people are blown away that just listening to frequencies. I've had I remember there's one lady down here in Argentina that was scheduled for a ovarian cyst that she had, and she came here to Capilla. She's from Buenos Aires, and she came here, and I gave her a live session. You know, I tuned the bowls to, you know, ovarian cyst frequencies, and I recorded it, and I put the frequencies on a CD, and she took that back home with her. I saw her a couple of years later at an event there in Buenos Aires, and she told me that I came back with that CD and I played it every night, all night long while I was sleeping. And a month later, she went for her operation that was planned, and they couldn't find the cyst anywhere. It was gone.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. And other people have had similar experiences where, you know, something was here in their throat or whatever, and kidney stones, they just disappear.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And if somebody goes is looking for something and doesn't find it, just let me know, send me a letter or something, and I can see about adding, you know, that condition to the site. But
Yes.
that's the power of specific frequencies. And when we are working with specific frequencies and specific intentions, we got the whole world in our hands.
Absolutely.
We can do whatever we want.
And you know, you mentioned it earlier, Edgar Cayce, the psychic, who said sound will be the medicine of the future.
Yes.
And I really believe the future is now. You know, it's happening now. More and more people are getting switched on to sound. They're using it. It's working. It's helping them. It's helping their families. It's helping their children. It's helping the elderly. It's like, let's get this party started back on a path of, you know, health and harmony, and have everyone have that happy, fulfilled, healthy life. We all truly deserve it. And that's why I love sound, because even if you're a non-believer, it's still vibrating. It's still going into the body. It's still causing an effect at a cellular level, and you can feel it and you benefit from it. So it's a great thing.
I actually have a link to a track in SoundCloud of the 54, a recording of the 54, and I can send you that link, and at least people can listen to it that way.
That would be great. Yeah, we can put that as a link below the video, and I can also put it in the at the end, one of the titles at the end, so people can find it. Yeah, awesome. Or the name of your SoundCloud account. So that would be great.
Great.
And that's is that your gift for the viewers today?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
they can go listen to this 54 and just, as well as, you know, anything that's on the goodfrequencies.com site too. But you know, that's always available out there. It's for me, health, physical health is the main thing.
Yeah, it's our wealth.
It's like, if we don't have physical health, we're really not going to progress very much spiritually. We have to have physical health, because if we don't, we're distracted. We can't concentrate. We can't meditate. We can't do our job well. And so for me, you know, whatever we can do, whatever I can do to help people return to their health, it's good for everybody. It's good for me. It's good for you. It's good for our children. It's good for our grandchildren, so that everybody can participate, contribute to the ongoing creative work of the Creator here. And we all have special gifts. We all have special talents that we can use, and we can contribute to the well-being of everybody, to the evolution of the whole. And so, you know, whatever I can do to help people return to their health, I'll do it.
You are such an amazing being, and I'm so glad that my intuition was just spot on to invite you, because, you know, offering right frequencies through crystal instruments, that has got to be the highest choice of giving sound to the body. So I really applaud you. And for everyone watching, if you've got someone who's sick, and most of us know someone who's sick, good frequencies ceremonialist.com is the place to go for crystal vibrations. Vibrate your disease away. How awesome
Aho.
are you? Aho. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Well, I hope.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your brilliance. And it's so beautiful to know that people can have an experience with your SoundCloud. So I will definitely include that. And we are so blessed to have you on this planet at this time, Mr. Daniel Brower, all the way from Argentina, sending you so much love.
Thank you.
Much love,
Thank you.
much gratitude. And
thank you.
Please check out his website and also circleofsound.org, yeah?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
And if they want to email you, they can email you through the website.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. Great. Wishing you.
Wonderful to see you again after so many years. What a blessing. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Oh, you were the first person that came to mind because you've been dedicated on your path. Yes, truly, for so long. So I am so happy to reconnect and to share this message of hope with so many watching and who will continue to watch thousands over the time that it will be held up online. So thank you from my heart to yours.
Aho.
Aho.
Aho. Okay.